I'm going to respond to a few thoughts that I had with Joseph's talking about shower thoughts, and also what I was thinking about when I was uh, working on my yard. Um, um, so with the thing that you said about the grains of sand, when at what point do they become a pile? Well, I think that I was comparing that to achievement. And at what point do you recognize that your each individual achievement has added up? Well, I think that that's hard to answer, but there's a huge difference in how it feels if you build build whatever it is that you're building, and that you start to notice that it has gained value. You're able to transfer those skills in other areas, and you start to notice that you are needed as a valuable person in your own life and in some of the people that you've gotten to know's life. And then as far as burnt toast goes, are you suggesting at what point, um, how long does your writing retain value, and when what do you consider to have turned to toast? Well, some of the things that I've written about, it just depends on if it's something that I can do anything about, is the answer to that. Because if it's action oriented writing, and it has to do with more of, I'm going to learn to do a certain skill, even communicating with yourself, or writing, or um, deciding to learn about a tool, or to decide to learn about gardening, whatever it is, those things do not turn to toast. They retain in your brain. You don't have to go back and look at your notes if you do something on a regular basis. Um, and let's see, what else was I thinking about today? I was thinking about um, the introduction to Joel Salatin, I think is how you say his name, and how he described his mobile trailers and the way that they move the cattle around to, and then have the chickens come in there after they've moved the cattle to keep the soil, um, to keep regrowing the grass so the cows can eat it, and to keep it fertilized and healthy and all those things. And I was comparing that to what I have done in my small little operation, of the things I came up with myself, as to how I would be of value, a small piece, because I did say something about puzzle pieces and how you fit into a bigger value system. You can fit into a bigger value system in somebody else's operation. And so, if I imagined myself going to work at his ranch, then I would be thinking of the things that I already do, that I could bring to the table, that I have decided to stick with, which is creating my own soil out of my fish pond filtration system, which also fertilizes and adds value to the quality of farming. And then also that I noticed that he had a bunch of ponds, or he talked about having ponds. And so you just think about, like, when you're listening to what a person is talking about, and then you take that description, and then you point that back at yourself. What all do I know how to do that would fit into this person's um, how could I add value to another person's bigger operation? Is kind of similar to the thought of being a drop of water that goes back into the ocean, I suppose. Those kind of philosophical ideas. Now, when you said that the thing about losing your job after 20 years, I thought that you were talking about being a parent after 20 years. If you've done a good job, I guess that your child might be leaving home, and then you have to figure out what else you're going to do with your time. Well, I think that's why that's the whole the kicker about how many things can you juggle, because if you are a parent, then you should have all these other things that you're trying to um, school your children about. And so that those I would call jobs. Every little achievement is sort of a micro, I guess you could call it, micro job. Everything comes together to incorporate a bigger picture. And I was also thinking about, while I was working on my yard, that if some employer was looking at to recruit somebody, they would be looking to a person who works with and makes up jobs for themselves just because they think it could turn into it could grow into an important thing. It's not like a lot of the things that I could come up with. I do not have an employer telling me anything that I need to do. I make up things that I think are important to, I would say make up. I mean, I have the things available that I can use, but I make up whatever it is that I think would be useful knowledge to know about. And I am excited most every day to get up out of bed. So that's because I believe that I'm adding value by learning how to do all these things. I'm almost finished with my first drawer, and I'm very excited that I figured out how to get it working, and I did not use any instructions. And so once I finished getting the first one in, I was going to say, that is what um, self-worth or self-appreciation feels like and looks like. You work at something and it works and you're happier with it than you could imagine in the first place, because you just built it out of your mind and you didn't really know what you were doing, and then it turns out to work. That's a good feeling. It's a really good feeling that it makes you feel like, whoa, there's something to be appreciative of my little body. And so I guess that is there anything else I need to talk about as far as trying to imagine who I would consider raising children with for 20 years? I would say my earlier thought was that don't make those kinds of decisions in moments of feeling really excited because somebody likes you and they seem like you know how it is when that excitement that you feel at first, that when you haven't really thought through things and gotten comfortable with a person. I think that's the type of hump that you need to get over, so you can make sure, like, okay, it's not just about our adrenaline or whatever it is that makes you feel so good. and you can actually make an assessment as to what it would be like to commit 20 years or whatever it is to a job, if that's what we're calling it, to a relationship with a person. And I wouldn't say that, I don't even know if that's a good agreement to say, I'm going to commit 20 years of my life to you because we're deciding to have children. I mean, you might want to keep that in mind, but then you think, well, that's kind of sad to think about all the years you have left to live if you're going to dissolve your couple relationship because you only based it on the children. I wouldn't, I don't know that I would be able to do that. Something that I would really have to think about, like, what's more important to think about, your own love life or trying to create sort of a business like agreement. That's difficult because you think life is going by, and I need to get started doing a lot of the other tasks that I want to do. But I would make sure to be as equally agreeable or certain about those kinds of ponderings. But I will soon be showing the drawers I am very proud of.